wait for everybody to join.
Hello everyone. So today we wanted to start it all off with a land acknowledgement. So we acknowledge we are on treaty on Turtle Island where indigenous people have lived since time began. These are the ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu, and Dakota nations, as well as the traditional trade and travel routes of the Anishinaabe, Dene, and Inuit. As Winnipeg, Manitoba is situated on Treaty 1 territory, we acknowledge other individuals from different treaty territories across Canada, such as Treaty Territory 2 to 9, Robertson Superior Treaties, William Treaties, Upper Canada Land Surrender Treaties, Douglas Treaties, and Peace and Friendship Treaties. So CC UNESCO Youth Advisory Council, as well as CGE Global Encounters, is committed to working together in partnership with communities in the spirit of reconciliation. So thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Solace. Just the next slide. So my name is Solace. I'm in grade 10 and I live in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Treaty 1 territory. So to follow along with the presentation, we're going to go through a little icebreaker with a few poll questions that you can answer in chat about the topics we're going to discuss today. So we can get started with that. So poll question number 1, how would you rate the education you got on Black History Month? And what would you change so you could get more information on Black history? So you can answer all of those and you can answer those in chat.
Awesome. I would also like to remind our friends that are joining us live on YouTube, you're also welcome to answer in the YouTube chat, and my colleague Sarah will transfer your answers over. So classes, you can feel free to shout your answers out to your teachers and you can put them in either of those places.
Okay. Charlotte, I'm sorry, wait, hold on. Let me get this out real quick. In chat, oh, North Park Collegiate said 2 out of 10. Right? And Zara said on a scale of 1 to 10, I believe it was a 10. I would love more class-based learning on Black history.
I'm seeing a lot of 1 out of 10s on here. And Sentinel High School is saying they only receive Black history education in February. Man.
Okay, poll question number 2, what can schools do to make people of color more comfortable? You can answer that in chat too.
I'm really interested in seeing the schools that signed up for this event, if they have more Black history education than schools that wouldn't sign up for it. I'm wondering what the poll would be if we just asked every Canadian.
Chestamir said Black student networks. You want to expand on that? Jean said, I believe promoting more awareness and having themed days where we focus on issues would make people more comfortable. That's a good thought. Zahara said representation. Simple things like art around the school can make students find likeness and comfort. Okay. Full question number 3. How do you feel microaggressions are harmful to people of color?
I would like to point, while we're coming up with answers for this one, if you don't know what a microaggression is, that's totally fine. One of our speakers is going to talk a little bit on this topic as well. So even if you type in the chat, I have no idea what this is, you're about to learn.
Repeated feelings of otherness. Zahara said takes away from our self-esteem. Yeah. Sentinel said not being completely supported. Yeah, microaggressions do make you feel that way, especially if you're a person regarding like people of color. It can make them feel uncomfortable in their own skin. Yeah, that's pretty much the point when it comes to microaggressions. It makes people just generally uncomfortable. So poll question number 4, Rate this scale of representation found in the entertainment industry from 1 to 10, and why do you rate it like that? And then if you want to do the B question, you can. Why do you think the entertainment industry lacks representation?
And this one's interesting as well because a couple of our speakers are going to talk a little bit about good versus bad representation. So sometimes we think we might be seeing good representation, but it's not really coming through. Also, is Solus frozen for everybody else on a very shocked face, or is that just mine? Might have lost her. Let's see what we're getting. So see some 9 out of 10, 6 out of 10s, 8 out of 10s. Some people think it's more of a 2 out of 10 lazy representation I see from Zahara. I think this one really depends on what you look and sound and feel like, because I feel like for some people, they see themselves represented online a lot and others maybe do not. Solus, are you still with us? Oh, I think she's gone. That was her final poll question, though. So I do want to say thank you all for joining us. And I wanted to take a quick second to thank Solus for not just coming up with those questions for you, but running them with you. That was really great to have. And just a reminder to make sure we're all in the same place, this is supporting BIPOC youth in schools. So you are going to be hearing from a variety of youth from across Canada, talking about not just their personal experiences, but also different ways that you can help support youth in your own schools, or you can help your peers feel more supported as BIPOC youth. I did want to give you a quick reminder before we get started. This is what our event is going to look like today. We're not super set in stone. As you can tell, we are already 10 minutes behind because of the tech issues. But we will try to save a little bit of time at the end of the event for everybody to do some Q&A. So during the event, if you come up with any questions on any of the things that our fabulous speakers have talked about, you can feel free to save them for the end, or you can type them in the chat as we're going, and I'm sure they'd be happy to answer those as well. Again, we have a very full event, so I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm going to go ahead and pass the microphone off to our first speaker to introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. I hope you all can hear me. My name is Zahara, and I'm a grade 12 student at Kalesh Churchill High School, Winnipeg, which resides on Treaty 1 territory, the ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, Inuit, and Dakota Oyate people, and is the homeland of the Red River Métis. Personally, I'm originally from India, and I moved to Canada just a little more than a year ago. So, as we're all here to talk about supporting and recognizing BIPOC youth, let's understand what the term BIPOC stands for. BIPOC means, or is composed of 3 main groups of people: people that are Black, Indigenous, and of color. Today, I'd like to share my experience as a student of color. And just before I start, I want to mention that I speak only from my life and my experiences. I do not speak on behalf of people that are Black and or Indigenous, and neither do I speak on behalf of every person of color. So despite being put into this box of people of color, our experiences may still be very different and very unique to each other. And I think one of us cannot possibly represent all of us. So starting with, what is it like being a person of color in a new country? I remember when I was going to start high school in Canada, all my family and friends had told me that it's going to be really easy. Canada has a lot of Indian people, and you're going to make so many Indian friends at school, and it's all going to be fine. But just within my first week at school, I realized that I was the only Indian person in the building. The people didn't know my culture, the walls didn't tell my stories, and the classrooms also felt strange. Clearly, there was a lack of representation. And without anyone making me feel that way, I just immediately assumed that I didn't belong because I just couldn't see anything like myself there. And the consequences of this lack of representation didn't or doesn't only affect me, but actually everyone else too. How, you may ask, right? So since there's no representation available at school, when I say representation, I mean specifically for Indian people and Indian culture. So since there's no representation available at school, students and also adults seem to experience Indian culture only through media and films and all of the people that you see on screen right now. And not surprisingly, recently I met a person who was beyond shocked to meet a Muslim from India. FYI, I'm Muslim. And I couldn't blame them either, because that's all that they've been exposed to through books and medias and films. And talking specifically about films and Hollywood, which, in my opinion, does a lazy job at representation for people like me. Why I say that is because I mean, I do understand that in a culture so vast and so diverse, it might be a little hard to represent everybody. But it also doesn't mean that they only pick out what they most commonly see, like the most common religion, the most common ideology. I don't think that's really fair. And just like Hollywood always associates Indians with Hinduism and just refuses to acknowledge that many other religions do also exist in this largely diverse country, which might be the reason that my friend was surprised that I was a Muslim. Starting from movies like Indiana Jones, in which one of an Indian priest was depicted drinking Satan's blood, which is a whole another level of problematic that I don't want to get into. But even Devi from Never Have I Ever was Hindu. So was Raj in Big Bang Theory. So was Kelly Kapoor in The Office. So due to all these single stories and stereotypical representation or portrayals of people, people like us who are audiences to these films and these works actually fall into believing them, just like my friend. Because every Indian person they've seen on screen is Hindu, almost always straight. The women are tired of their strict parents. The men are always either sexist or deluded to being nerdy IT guys. I hope now we definitely see how this creates a stereotype of Indians in other people's minds. But also, I want you all to take a moment to think about Indians themselves who can't find a place to fit into these stereotypes or these portrayals of them. What about Indians who are not straight? What about Indians who are not into IT? What about Indian men who are not sexist? What about Indians who are not Hindus? Where is our representation? There isn't. Hence, it is important that we realize the danger of this single story and always try to look through multiple lenses, or at least be open to listening to multiple views. Because what you see on screen sometimes is not the full picture. And it does take a little more time to research and find the full picture, but it's important. If you have any thoughts and queries on that and you'd like to share that with us, please go ahead and do so in the chat box. And just before I conclude, I want to share these pictures of our UNESCO team putting together our school display. We put together this piece with the help of many youth from different cultures and different countries and different backgrounds. It's basically a guideline on ways to make peace, or like not a guideline, but suggestions on ways to make peace. And why I put this here is to show the progress that my school has made. One of the blocks here says, keep spreading love in my native language, Hindi. And I know it's a really small change, but with this, I hope that when another Indian student walks into the building, they don't feel estranged. It's to show that we care, we listen, and we all belong. I am so beyond happy that you all took the time to join us in this important conversation today, because the first step towards taking action is to be present. And we're all present today, which is we're all taking the first step together. Thank you so much.
Hey everybody, this is Mary, and I'm very sorry I'm not able to join you guys today. I unfortunately have to play in the badminton finals at school, but I go to Havergal College, which is covered by Treaty 13 and the Williams Treaty. When you first interact with me, the first thing you notice is what I look like. The next thing you notice is what I sound like. I was born in Hong Kong and went to an international school that spoke English before moving here when I was 7 years old. One of my earliest memories of being in school in Canada was getting pulled out of my favorite classes to go to ESL class. Aside from the fact that I had just moved here and had a tinge of a Chinese accent at the time, I spoke, read, and wrote English as well as the other kids did. I can still remember the feeling of the judging gazes of my classmates burning into me as I tried to hold in my tears as I was escorted out of my class. The feeling of being judged every time I opened my mouth never quite disappeared until last year, when I finally understood something. In my studies of the environmental changes on human evolution, also known as why do different people look the way they do, I found an interest in how different things interact with culture. For example, I used to get frustrated and embarrassed at my mom when she answered the phone and instead of a Western, "Hello, this is Sherry speaking," she loudly says, "Wei." I knew that this was how most Chinese ladies answered the phone, and it was the way that she knew for the past 40-something years of her life. But it was when she explained to me that in her childhood, the phone systems were terrible, so when she needed to call her friends, she had to first confirm that her friend could actually hear her, was when I realized the connection between living and culture. Her and so many Chinese people's experiences added this almost signature way of picking up the phone to the Chinese identity. It became clear to me that the way that she picks up the phone is part of who she is and connects her to millions of people. Similar to the way that she picks up the phone, the way that she talks was also a point of frustration for me. My mom is very straightforward with her communication. She doesn't know what sugarcoating or phrasing is, despite multiple attempts by me, and I would always be super concerned that the other party would feel disrespected or attacked. She also often gets words and pronunciations wrong, and I always felt obligated to correct her with my perfect English, the English that I grew up speaking and learning. On a visit back to China, it suddenly clicked for me how hard my mom worked to even speak English. I started to realize that switching between the two languages wasn't just a matter of substituting words, but also the entire sentence structure was different, and you quite literally have to think differently. So my mom moved to Canada for my siblings and I, and learned a whole new language for us. She learned all the new cultural customs and the ways of speaking. She left everything she knew, the place she grew up in, the place that made her who she is, and the way she speaks English is a symbol of all of that. It was just like how when I was in China, every single person could tell that I did not grow up there. My hair was dyed, I lacked a Chinese accent while speaking English, and I had a tad of an English accent when speaking Chinese. Though all of this earned me dirty looks from the Chinese uncles and aunties, I've learned to wear my Western identity proudly in Chinese society. I was proud that I grew up in a place where the education system allowed me the opportunity to learn and practice French and Spanish, to have the time to learn Korean and Japanese, and to learn how to think for myself. I am proud that I am encouraged to express myself and pursue my interests. So then, why couldn't I wear my Chinese skin, Chinese food, Chinese family, and Chinese accent with pride in Canada? Why can't I be proud of the unique and rich culture or the beautiful family I was born into? It no longer bothers me when people try to discredit me or look down on me for the way I look or the way I talk, because I know that they simply don't understand who I am and who I was. I am a Chinese teenager with 2 passports. I get dirty looks from people in the place that I was born in, and I get racial slurs and rocks hurled at me in the place I currently live in. And I am still here speaking to you today. I would like all BIPOC youth to know and understand that the way you talk and the way you behave is a culmination of all the things that make you, you. Never let anybody try to silence you because of your identity. So today, if I had my camera off or my mic muted, you wouldn't know who I am and all the stories behind me. The way you talk is just as important and unchangeable as your appearance, so be proud of it. Thank you.
Raisa, we can't hear you. Uh-oh. Perhaps if you go next to the mute option, the little arrow, you might just have to change your input source to like your computer microphone. Yes.
Okay. Don't know. So I think it's kind of apparent, but I've been having some tech difficulties this whole morning. So I'll still show you guys an amazing presentation. So I just want to appreciate all the other presentations before me. They were all very inspiring and they should be well appreciated. So I think Rebecca kind of introduced me, but I'm Risa Hawk, a proud grade 11 student at Collège Jean Sauvé, a French immersion high school down in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I'm presenting to you from Treaty 1 territory, belonging to the Anishinaabe, Inuit, Dakota, and the homeland of the Red River Métis. I'm thrilled to be presenting to you all today about how we can empower BIPOC youth in schools. As a person of color, I know there are always improvements to be made. So let's explore this topic in more detail together, shall we? To start things off, I want you all to imagine this. A new classmate proudly enters the classroom with freshly braided hair and a big smile. But their smile fades when another student, driven by curiosity, asks, "Do you leave your braids in when showering?" This question is an example of a microaggression, a comment or question that comes from stereotypes or assumptions about someone. What may seem like a harmless question out of curiosity may seem a lot more complex to the one receiving the question and may make them feel excluded and uncomfortable. Microaggressions, though small, have a big impact. We're not always aware of the impacts of our words, so it's important to properly reflect before saying something. Even if it is your friend, microaggressions can impact anyone, and little comments or jokes can build up until they finally burst and create trouble and feelings of insecurity. It's important to raise awareness on the impacts of microaggressions so as to create a more safe and inclusive space for everyone. Now, let's shift our focus to the importance of embracing diversity. It's cool to be different. Can you imagine a world where everyone was the same? Sorry, there's an ambulance. It kind of shows how, can you imagine if everything was the same? No. Where would all the fun come from? Could there even be fun? But sometimes being different makes us feel distant, makes us feel distant from others. For me, my parents are not from Canada, and so my life at home and at school are very different. I'd always thought that it would be hard to fit in at school because of the way I dress and the difference in lifestyle that I have compared to my friends. And while there are always certain moments where I feel like I live outside of the world of my friends, nowadays diversity is encouraged. And so instead of fitting into a little puzzle piece, we are encouraged to share and embrace our uniqueness with others. However, the world is never perfect. And with a huge diversity comes certain setbacks, such as a focus on certain groups and a lack of representation and knowledge of other different cultures. Students can feel excluded because their culture is not being recognized and shared with others. But you know what? Solutions to those come with time. And it's by speaking out and sharing our thoughts that we can make the changes we want so that every student can feel like they belong and are appreciated in the school they attend. Not only do we need diversity in people, but also in methods of teaching. So not just the Western teaching methods. Picture this, a classroom filled with vibrant colors where students learn through discussions and hands-on activities. Instead of being tested on paper, students can show their learning through actions. That's what we're trying to do in a special class at my school called Propel. It's basically a project-based class. We always start class in a circle and discuss about certain topics, which helps us practice our reflecting and speaking skills. We're also incorporating Indigenous forms of teaching in our class by focusing more on oral teachings and learning together with our mini class community, as well as giving students the independence to choose what they want to do and learn. Of course, not everything is discussions and hands-on in our class, but it's a lot more flexible than other classes. We can mix traditional Western methods with other diverse ones to create a more engaging learning environment for students. Trying out new things is what school is all about. So trying different teaching methods can be part of the process, don't you think? Now, with all the diversity I've been speaking of, I think it makes sense that my school and I love embracing cultures. We've done many activities throughout the years to embrace different cultures. Activities for Hispanic Heritage Month, Black History Month, and Asian Heritage Month were organized by our BIPOC committee. We've also done some activities for Indigenous Days, like cutting out paper red dresses for missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirited. All of these activities and pieces were like they helped students connect with different cultures and learn more while engaging creatively. As you can see, our projects are quite artsy. As many of our activities were hands-on and creative, this goes to show that schools don't solely need to teach using presentations. Learning about culture isn't just about words. It's about experiencing and immersing ourselves in different activities. So let's all embrace our uniqueness and celebrate our differences. As a society, learning about each other is something that can help us create a more inclusive environment for all. As I end my presentation, I want to leave with a question of reflection. How can you promote inclusivity and celebrate diversity in your school community from today onwards? Thank you for listening, and I look forward to more engaging presentations from my peers.
Thank you so much. And Raisa, actually, before we pass to Heijin to do her presentation, your question is very mirrored by a question that we just got in our chat. So something for our speakers to think about while we do our last few minutes of sharing here. What are specific things that schools can do to make people feel more welcome? So if you guys have ideas, you can pop them in the chat as well. But my speakers, we will take a couple minutes at the end of the session to talk about that. So thank you very much. And I will now pass the microphone over to Heijin.
Hello, my name is Heijin. I'm a grade 11 student at St. Malachy's Memorial High School in New Brunswick, which is located on the traditional unceded lands of the Mi'kmaq people, and along the St. John River, it belongs to the Wolastoqey people. So today, I really want to focus my presentation on Asian representation. So when you think of Asia, Asia is the largest continent in the world, actually. It supports 48 different countries. So with so many countries, you would think that Asia would have a ton of different representation, and it would be seen as extremely unique with really diverse people. And in reality, it is very unique, and there are many different ethnic groups found within the continent of Asia, but that's not what the media is showing us. When you look at Asia, it has 48 countries, except for the fact that when you actually think about what people think Asia is, it usually boils down to the same 3 countries over and over again. So China is very prevalent. China, Japan, South Korea, and maybe even India at times. But this is nowhere near what it should be looking like. If you can see the difference. China is only one country of the entire 48 different countries that Asia has. So why are we giving so much attention to maybe 3 or 4 different countries when there are 44 other countries that deserve the same recognition? If you go on Google and you actually type in the word Asian, which is simplifying the problem a little bit, but if you type in the word Asian, a lot of the pictures can be found within the same ethnic group or in same territorial land. So the thing is, a lot of the pictures that come up appear to be East Asian, and that is what a lot of people, that is their traditional view of what an Asian is. But Asia is split into so many different countries, and we all have different skin tone and hair tones and unique cultures. There are tons of different ethnic groups, even within just one country alone, as many as 1,000 different dialects and leading to 1,000 different cultures just in one country. But there is a photo of what it should be. or rather many photos. So in this picture, I have a picture of what it should show when you Google in what an Asian looks like. Here we have a ton of different cultures and different ethnic groups, all representing people from the same continent. As you can see, I'm not dividing it into only 3 ethnic groups alone. You can see I've put in countries from Asia, sorry, countries such as China, Mongolia, Kazakhstan, India, sorry, India, Japan, South Korea, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Indonesia, and many more. It's really important that you have representation like this, because if you don't, it's sort of a form of erasure when you're looking at other countries. You can't boil a continent down to just maybe 3 or 4 countries. You have to really take a step back and look at the bigger picture and what is really going on, because the entire history of Asia is incredibly diverse and unique, and it should be treated as such, and it deserves to be treated as such. So personally, I believe that the greatest action that your community can take to really bridge gaps and drive home the idea of inclusion is to invite numerous guest speakers that can impart knowledge and their own experiences to students. So as an example, at STM, we've invited numerous Indigenous elders and speakers to share their own lived experiences, which can expose audiences to authentic insights into what different lifestyles and struggles can look like for anyone, because struggles and lifestyles are different from individual to individual, even if you may look the same. So relating to the speakers, they've shared with us the road to getting to where they are. They've taught us about how empathy is really the most important thing that you can give someone else. And they can provide such huge inspiration for individuals to make a difference in their own lives and the lives of others. So one presentation that was extremely memorable to me was the presentation of Dr. Imelda Perle, and her indigenous name is Abula Samwas, which is Tide of the Whirling River. So she shared to us her experience at residential schools on the road to reclaiming her original name, where she's been and where she is now. And I feel like it's really important that you can invite different people to come and speak about their own lived experiences, because you are gaining a part of their life and gaining your own experiences. She talked about the adversity she struggled with, her own personal identity crisis, and her road to self-acceptance, which I feel like can resonate with a lot of generational Canadians here, because that is something that we can all struggle with at times. Her ultimate goal was to impart the fact that only by sharing all of our cultures together that we can become unified, rather than being divided, that like we have been. She ended her presentation by sharing the Willistic song, which is an ancestral song celebrating the gifts that the Willistic River, commonly known as the St. John River, has delivered to people of the past, to her people of the past. Since then, multiple groups of other individuals at STM have come forth in hopes of translating the song into their own different languages and cultures and bringing that home to their families, so that the gift of the song can be shared with different groups of people. By sharing all of our lived experiences with each other, we can all become stronger and more resilient. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for all of my peers, all of my fellow presenters who have presented before me. Thank you all so much for your contributions. I hope everyone who is here, who is present, has been learning. I hope that you've been enjoying these presentations. So my name is Christabel Ugolo. I am a 16-year-old grade 11 student at St. John High School, which is in St. John, New Brunswick. It is located on the unsurrendered and unceded lands of the Wolastoqey people, alongside their indigenous neighbors such as the Mi'kmaq and Passamaquoddy people. They are on this land due to the peace and friendship treaties signed by the Crown in the 1700s. So, today, I'm going to be talking a little bit about myself, and I'm just going to start with a brief introduction. So, sorry. So, I am a Nigerian American individual, which means I was born in the United States of America, down south in Texas, but I have full Nigerian ancestry, which I heavily resonate with. I have lived most of my life in Nairobi, which is the capital city of the country Kenya, which is located in the east of Africa. And I moved to St. John, New Brunswick in December of 2021. Living my entire life in diaspora, which basically means living in a country that is not my country of origin, has definitely been very interesting for me. It has created core memories, and so I have many experiences to draw from. All of my peers have made presentations talking about empowering BIPOC youth, talking about their experiences as immigrants, talking about representation and how to empower BIPOC youth. But what are all of these things based upon? All of these things are based on the concept of cultural identity, what it means to people and how we can empower people through it. So today, I will be discussing the importance of cultural identity, cultural education, and how kindness ties all of these things together. Next slide, please. So, what specifically is culture? According to the Cambridge Dictionary, culture is the way of life, especially the general customs and beliefs of a certain group of people. So, as seen in the image, culture consists of a plethora of things, ranging from language, food, mannerisms, art, celebrations, etc. And culture is what makes everyone their own individual. It's what brings people together and what makes everyone their own different person. So culture helps us in a variety of ways. As I've already mentioned, culture helps us to be unique and it helps us to express our identity. So my fellow speaker, Risa, said, imagine if the entire world was the exact same. Imagine how monotone, mundane, and ultimately boring everything would be. It's important for us to understand that culture is what makes us who we are. It's what makes us different from everybody else. And difference should be celebrated, not condemned. It also helps us to foster bonds between people, not only people of the same culture, but people of different cultures. It's important for us to all understand and appreciate everyone's culture and come to a common understanding where we can move forward. So, being confident in my cultural identity and my experiences. So, as an individual, I have experience with many different cultures, specifically with Nigeria, the United States of America, Kenya, Canada, etc. These are two pictures of me in my cultural clothing, which is my way of expressing my cultural identity. Sometimes it can be difficult because you can feel like you don't fit in. For me, I have partaken in so many different cultures that sometimes people can make me feel like I don't fit in. But it's important to be confident in your identity. But confidence takes time. It's not something you sleep and wake up and suddenly have. And it's okay to take time to have confidence. It's important to embrace all aspects of your culture and recognize that you are beautiful no matter what people may say about you, regardless of your race, culture, ethnicity, um, cultural background, even your accent, the way you speak, your language, it doesn't matter. You are beautiful just the way you are, and you should know and understand that. And we should interact with people knowing that. Next slide, please. So, integrating cultural education into the school system. So, it's important for us to be educated concerning different cultures. And what ways can we do this? We can do this by discussing cultural history in the classroom. So we can have conversations about cultural history, whether it's Black history, Indigenous history, Asian history, etc. It's important to have these conversations. Sometimes they can be daunting or uncomfortable, but it's important that we do not shy away from these things. It's important to acknowledge cultural figures across the world and their contributions to society, whether it's in arts, social justice, sports, etc. It's important to acknowledge all of them. Also, it's important to host school events concerning heritage. It's important for the student population of whichever school you are a part of to understand these things about people. For example, at my school, St. John High School, we had a Pan-African theme week. I am part of my school's anti-racism committee, and we planned a bunch of activities, such as a Black History Month assembly, consisting of a fashion show and a panel, which provided entertainment and also education at the exact same time. Next slide, please. So, how does kindness affect our cultural identities? I don't know how many people can relate to this, but I know that many immigrant children can feel insecure about their cultural identity if they are made fun of. When people constantly poke at the difference that you can see for yourself and try to make fun of you for it, it can make you feel insecure. You might not feel as confident in your identity as you would be if people didn't make fun of you. And so this is where kindness comes in. Kindness is so, so important. Kindness can sometimes feel like common sense. Almost it feels like common sense to be kind to everybody. But the amount of unkindness that I've experienced in my life that other people of color, BIPOC people have experienced in their life is almost appalling. So it's important for us to be kind concerning culture, and everyone benefits from it because it boosts everybody's confidence. And we can learn more about other people's culture through kindness and understanding. Once we understand each other, once we can come together as a community and as a society, once, once we come together as a community, as a society, and we learn more about each other's cultures through kindness, we can move towards a common goal. And what I want to leave with everybody today is that we need to be educated and we need to be kind. You need to be confident in your identity. Just love who you are based on no matter your culture, no matter your race or ethnicity, no matter where you come from, you are beautiful and amazing and should be appreciated. You're worthy of respect and recognition, and you are so worthy. So you will attract the right people, the right energy. It might take time, but definitely you will be able to see that representation no matter where you are. And even if you don't see the representation, once you have that confidence, you can be the representation to inspire so many people out there in the world. You are loved, you are worthy, and you are an amazing person. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Christabel, and the rest of our speakers. I'm just going to say for myself, this is one of the most impactful events that I've been a part of. And you are all high school students, so I think the rest of our schools joining us here today would agree with me in saying how amazing this was. And I've been seeing in the chat saying that their students are being impacted by this as first-generation Canadians, as students of color. So thank you so much for being so brave and sharing all of your personal stories today. I did have a couple reminders I wanted to give our people here before we do our final wrap up. First off, if this event felt as impactful to you as it did to me, we have a similar event coming up on March 8th for International Women's Day, and we will have one more of our Youth Advocacy Council members, Sarah Golding, presenting at this one, sharing how impactful it is to be a woman in our world and what that means. So if you're interested in coming to that event, you can check out cgeducation.org, or even better, just sign up for our newsletter. You will get information about all of our upcoming events, information on the Youth Advocacy Council. If you have students here today that want to get involved in stuff like this, like our presenters are, that's the best way to do that. And of course, I did want to say a huge thank you to all of our presenters. They are all joining from their schools. You can tell by all the interruptions and bells. A few of them had to leave because they're trying to jump in here between their math classes and English tests. So thank you so much to all of you for joining us today. And again, for being brave enough to share such a big part of your lives. So thank you so much for speaking for us today. Awesome. Okay, that's all that we have time for. We're already 5 minutes over our time. So if you really have a burning question, you can type it in the chat before you head out. But that is the official end to our event. We let everybody get back to their classes. And thank you so much for joining us today. It was so nice to have you all. Awesome. See ya. Thank you.